Today I'm in one of my favorite locations, the Highlands. With so many nature preserves and parks to choose from, it isn't necessary for me to repeat a location for one of my videos. However, it's early spring in West Michigan and I'm waiting for the trees and the grass to green up. So I thought this would be an ideal location to demonstrate how to photograph barren-looking landscapes. I've been here a number of times in early spring, late fall, even early winter, and each time come away with character-filled images. The openness of the landscape, fallen trees, withered plants are dramatically transformed when photographed in black and white. It all looks more desolate, barren, and otherworldly. Let's go take a look and I'll point out some areas of interest. When I first started out, I liked to photograph dead trees or barren trees, and here you have a line of them and they go from tallest to smallest. And I just like that not only leading line but that diagonal line that accentuates their height. And further on you can get more detailed on these trees that are falling apart to show off their angular limbs and their broken limbs. It just adds more character to your image. You get some rich values in there of darks and lights, the bleach limbs that no longer have any bark on them. I like how this dead tree is juxtaposed in the foreground with evergreens or bushes in the background that are green and healthy looking. And you have this pond in between them. So it's a good balance of life and death, and with angular limbs and with full branches. I'll keep coming back to trees, and that's why I like it here at the Highlands. There's a lot of different trees here. Some are alive and some are not doing so well. This one is a great one with pointy and really sharp looking branches and limbs, and photograph that against the sky and you've got something really dramatic going on. So the grass is starting to green up a little bit, but you'll notice in nature parks and preserves it's going to take a long time for things to totally green up and bloom, and the trees are starting to bud as well, but this is a great spot for overhanging branches across the path, and it shows the shape of the trees, and it just is a good comparison of shapes and values. You've also got a path right in the center so you can move off to the side however you want to line up that composition and balance it. Here's one of the almost iconic or most identifiable trees here at the Highlands. I photographed it on different occasions. Most recently, I used my new camera, which I had converted to super color infrared. And you'll notice I can do all sorts of different things now with processing. But you can see where I just used the shape, the size, the angles, just the basic elements of the subject matter itself to compose a shot. Here's another one of those kind of comparisons. On my previous video on the Highlands, I showed a photograph of this in black and white, and I came back recently and I photographed it again in super color. So you can see the difference in adding color and in strict black and white. Now this tree has been a subject for a lot of my photographs because of its size and shape. And then if you get low to the ground and get some of that sky behind it, so you can almost replicate that open knot hole in the trunk with the circular cloud in the sky, but it also gives you a feeling of barrenness when you drop down like this. So you can't really see much of the land, but you can just see the sky and the trunk. I almost call this like a tree carcass because of what's left. Seems like just the bones as it decays back into the ground. There's so much to offer in terms of compositions. You've got life growing here even as the tree decays, and you've got other sides of it, lots of textures, lots of values, darks and lights. And of course, you've got my favorite tree here at the Highlands with some dead organic matter in the front, some plant life that's left over from last year. So that's a good comparison. You can drop down, get it at different angles, but then you have that barren sky behind you as well. Add some of that foreground, and it just kind of accentuates that barrenness that's out here. Last fall I helped to plant some trees back here, and it's kind of nice to see them growing in their surroundings. So that's always a good comparison as well, to compare what is growing to what isn't quite ready to pop yet. I like this path that's been groomed here, mowed in the grass. And then I border it with this larger tree on the right, and you can see it going on into the distance. Again, green grass, some buds on the trees, but not really the tall wild grasses yet. Obviously not the wildflowers yet either. But then you see the limbs of the tree better, the trunks, and you see this comparison of plant life. Some of it's dying off from last year, and some of it's just beginning to grow. I photographed this space a little while ago as well, and used my super color infrared to make it look a little different than how it looks now. But that just accentuates the different values, the different textures, and the different look of the space as well. Here's more of those white pine trees that we planted, and look at the location in which they're in. Got some taller companions to grow up next to, some open spaces where the sun's going to come through. Next to the Highlands being a former golf course, trees were planted in lines, which just kind of helps to compose your shot, draws your eye into the composition. Keep going further in, gives something of interest for the viewer to look at. What caught my eye right here was the character of the bark on the trunk of this tree, but then also the shadow of the barren limbs spiraling out almost from on the ground. So that's a good comparison. It can create an abstract shot, especially using infrared. So I probably will exploit that a lot. But it just proves again what I've been talking about is without the leaves, you see a lot of character in the trees. Another good one to photograph are plant remnants in your foreground. And then you have the barren landscape behind you, but that focus on that organic matter in the foreground, that's not growing, but it just adds some odd shapes and just a jaggedness to the texture. It's kind of windy today, but you can tell that there's been a lot of strong winds coming through. Look at the plant life, the organic matter that's been blown down and across, creating these little tent-like shapes. But I'm going to exploit that again and have that in the foreground and this dead tree behind it. Again, that's just adding shapes and textures and contrasts, and these little triangular areas in the foreground act as borders to lead the eye back to that dead tree in the background. Made it to one of the wetlands. There is wildlife out here. I'm doing my best not to disturb them because what I'm here for are the photographs. But this also offers you some variety of textures. You've got the dark water act as a dark background, and the plant life is highlighted by the sun, so that adds good contrast. Now, when I was here before, I tried out different looks with the infrared process. It's called color swapping. It gives me the ability to do different things with the images and to choose which way I want it to look, what will enhance the composition, what will make it look more ethereal than what I thought it would be. Now, in the growing season, these wild grasses, prairie grasses, wildflowers, whatever, all of this will grow to 6 to 7 feet tall. So it's really something to see when it's fully grown as well. But now it acts as texture, acts as points of interest in this type of landscape. What I like about the Highlands is the openness of it. Harkens back to its golf course days. But this is where we benefit from that because you have the dead grasses in the foreground, the trees in the background, and then this open sky. And right above is this swirl of a high cloud. It just adds some impact to this barren looking landscape. Come to another path, and it's bordered by these bushes or trees, and there's a tree just starting to bud behind it, and above are clouds. So here's a good spot to photograph. Got shapes again, got different densities and different values represented, and a path that goes diagonally through it. With 121 acres to wander through, the Highlands has something to offer during any season of the year. I hope this video provided you with some tips on what to photograph between seasons. Thanks for exploring with me. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked and learned something new. If you did, consider subscribing to my channel and getting notified when a new video posts. And I hope to see you out on the trails.